My name is Randy Reed, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Lighting Bureau. This year, the NLB launched our inaugural Tesla Awards, and we were scheduled to make the award presentations during Light Fair. With Light Fair being canceled this year, we're doing the next best thing, presenting them through Zoom. So I would like to introduce Mary Beth Gotti. Mary Beth is a director on our board, and she is also the chair of the Tesla Awards. Mary Beth?
Well, thanks so much, Randy. And it was really a pleasure to chair this inaugural year of the Tesla Awards. And, you know, our intent of creating the Tesla Awards lighting program was to honor projects that really promote the value of lighting. And if you think of the major theme of the National Lighting Bureau since its inception was high benefit lighting. So we're looking at projects that clearly demonstrate the value of lighting for its occupants, for the environment. But above and beyond that, we wanted to keep it simple. We wanted to encourage anyone involved with a lighting project that can demonstrate the value of lighting, should be able to submit a project. We wanted to focus on collaboration. I mean, how do you come up with the lighting design and implementation based on the other stakeholders involved with that project? It could be new construction, it could be retrofit, it could be a small installation or a very complex one. And we really wanted to include the opportunity to share best practices. How can we really make this instructional? There are so many new technologies and what works, what doesn't work. So we really look forward to promoting that to others who may be involved with similar types of projects. So in a nutshell, that's what we're trying to achieve with the Tesla Awards. I'd like to introduce the judges who took time out of their schedules to help judge our projects. From the Lighting Research Center, we had John Paul Friesener. We have Ruby Jadwood, a Director at Large for the NLB. Howard Lewis, a Vice Chair of the NLB. Terry McGowan, Director at Large of the NLB. And James Yorgi, who was the Treasurer for our organization. So thanks to all of them again for taking time out of their schedules to judge, all online. So it was very interesting and a new process for us all the way around. It's my pleasure to have Enrique Garcia-Carrera here, who was involved with the first two award-winning projects that we would like to discuss. And he's with Fisher Marantz Stone. And the first project is the Embry Riddle Mori Husseini Student Union, and along with Miyoung was involved with the lighting design for this project. And before I ask Enrique a few questions, I wanted to just summarize a few of the things that he had submitted in the proposal, in the project submittal. And interesting, the building's sweeping design, inspired by birds in flight, gives physical expression to the university's mission, aviation and aerospace education. The building's expansive 3-story atrium is an open and light-filled space that anchors and integrates the collaborative interior, lounges, dining venues, study rooms, career services, areas for student art exhibitions, and the library. I mean, this is really a virtual city within a city, offers a lot of places to meet, prepare for class, or relax. So again, very beautiful structure and some beautiful lighting. So congratulations, Enrique, absolutely outstanding job. We're so pleased to honor this project. So just as an opening question, and feel free to ad lib certainly, but what were the biggest challenges in trying to reinforce the architect's poetic interpretation of a building taking flight?
Well, thanks very much. We're very happy to participate in the awards and its first iteration. And the two projects that we're going to talk about couldn't be more different one from the other. So it's good to be recognized for a variety of aesthetics and architecture. And this particular project was challenging due to a lot of the attributes that you just mentioned about the structure itself make it a beautiful building, but also difficult to illuminate. There's curving structures and planes that really make it difficult to come in with a rigorously organized lighting solution that can be functional for the spaces. And so it's always tenuous to try to integrate artifacts into such free-flowing structures. So we try to do it in the most conscious way and in the most delicate way, and really honoring the shapes and also the aspiration of the building, which is, the Embry Riddle is an aviation university, and it's all about soaring and taking flight. And we wanted the lighting in its own subtle way to reflect that.
Who else provided input to your ultimate lighting design recommendations? I mean, how did you get all the various, opinions, and especially the architect, I would assume, was challenging, right?
The most close collaboration happened between ourselves and the architects. And of course, there was a lot of input from the school itself, which we received usually through the architect. The architect was in direct communication with the school, and then they would relate to us what their concerns were regarding the lighting. But we were in very close collaboration with the architects. We came in early in the project when the building itself was just taking shape. So we were able to help shape it and to help integrate the lighting in a most seamless manner.
Great. How about the dark sky limitations? Do you have any real issues or particular challenges with trying to light the structure and keep our skies dark?
We certainly did, and I need to preface it with the fact that this was not a building that was seeking LEED light pollution certification per se. In fact, the light pole standard around campus is not a cutoff light fixture, so there's already a little bit of upward vectoring lumens going around the campus. However, our specific building location is adjacent to an observatory building. And the observatory folks and the researchers and the faculty were very concerned about excessive amount of light coming from this building. And as you've seen, the building is nothing but a lantern. It's got multi-story curtain walls on all sides, plus it's got a skylight above. So we had to be conscious of that. We wanted to celebrate the building, and the building has a great soaring roof overhang, which we did wanted to highlight. That's one thing that we really wanted to do. And we had to do it very carefully with very precisely directed light and with very tight control beam spreads, so that the great majority of the lumens were indeed captured by the overhang and did not continue on upward. And then we had to present the university with studies of how many lumens were leaving the building through the curtain wall and through the skylights, and also what the brightness levels, what the luminance values of looking into the building were. And once we did that, and we did the due diligence of not making it overly bright, everybody was satisfied. And when the building was completed, the school really was delighted with it.
Wonderful, wonderful. One interesting design feature, the cost benefits of creating prefab ceiling coves with the LED flexible tape lights. Can you talk a little bit about how you came to that design?
Yes, that came as a byproduct of trying to integrate the lighting into this complex curve type surfaces, and to try to do it in a way that was not going to result in a lot of labor intensive on-site construction of very precise coves and knife edges and things like that. So the architects and ourselves agreed on a strategy that would allow to divide up the lengths of the coves into segments that could be replicated several times over the building, so that it was feasible to fabricate off-site and then just bring into the building and assemble as part of the ceiling itself. And the shapes, some of the curves are quite unique. Some get repeated a few times within each story. But the nice thing is that when we add up all the 4 stories, they do repeat themselves. So there was that value in repetition that allowed us to do that.
Oh, yeah, great. So just any specific tips, one more thing, selecting luminaires for all of these different ceiling heights. I mean, if someone's trying to do similar type of project, what do you look for in order to make it happen?
Well, there's the performance aspects, and then there's the aesthetics and the integration into the architecture. And we have the top story of the building has the large curving roof as its ceiling, and then that roof continues on and lights not only the single height space of the 4th floor, but then an adjacent double height space, triple height space, and quadruple height space. And that ceiling is covering that whole space. There's a big long skylight running through the center of that ceiling, and it was decided by the architects and by ourselves that the best approach was to have a lighting system integrated into that skylight that could traverse the whole length of the building and illuminate all these different levels. So once we had that idea, we had to find a light fixture that could do it. And that, of course, because it was going to be installed continuously within an architectural system that was constant throughout the whole building, the lighting had to look constant. So we researched different options, found a projector that came with just one form factor, but could provide us with different lumen outputs, different beam spreads as would be required as we went through the building, and that way achieve that functionality with an aesthetic seamlessness to it.
Great, great. So what was the response to your lighting design? I mean, obviously the architect was pleased, but any feedback from people who work in the space?
The architect was pleased, and the architects are based in New Jersey. So when they flew down to Florida for the opening and the dedication, I wasn't there for the dedication, but I got an email from them saying that the lighting was stunning. So that's always nice to hear from an architect, because usually you just hear the bad stuff, but he reached out and sent me some nice photos. So we were happy about that. We also know that the school is very pleased because they just hired the architects to start work on another building in campus. So they're very pleased. And the students seem to also like it. I've seen a couple of testimonials from students on video where they're all very appreciative. It's if we don't mind tooting our own horns, it's definitely the best building in that campus.
Well, thank you so much, and again, congratulations. For our judges that are online here, do you have any comments for Enrique?
I had a question, obviously focused on controls. I'm curious, I assume you met the minimum requirements, of energy codes, but more importantly, to maintain, the aesthetics and maybe help with the whole night sky thing. How do you handle the control side of things?
Well, the controls for the open spaces were mostly handled by the electrical engineer, and they were designed to to meet code, as you say. There's a lot of daylight coming into this building, so there's a lot of daylighting control integrated into the control system, because we're getting daylight coming in from the sides of the building and also from the top of the building. So it's a heavily daylight control system. And then there's also classrooms and multi-purpose rooms that require different settings for different types of functions. And some of these are actually totally cut off from daylight, so they have to function day and night.
Terry, did you have any comment for Enrique?
Yeah, I was interested in your comment about how the building fit into the campus. I don't know the campus, obviously, and we didn't see any pictures that gave us kind of a context, but this certainly is a very modern and interesting building. What does the rest of the campus look like?
Well, the building that stands out in my mind, because it was the one that we had to be more aware of, is the observatory building. And it looks like it's a fairly straightforward, boxy looking building that was probably built in the 70s or maybe in the 80s. And it's quite a simple rectangular looking building, and it does have a dome at the top where the telescope room is located. And the university in all seems to all be mostly older buildings, not very old. It's not like walking into Princeton or Harvard and saying, a building that might be 100 or 200 years old, but certainly 40 years old, 50-year-old buildings.
Oh, that's good. And by the way, I'm a lifelong International Dark Sky Association member, so I appreciate your comments about considering the dark skies. And I'll probably be sending them some pictures of it so that they can have some information about how you do a building these days, and especially a building with so many windows, and still take dark skies into consideration.
Right, absolutely.
Well, again, congratulations on the Tesla Award for this project. And the second project we want to discuss here is, again, very different. This is the Edition Hotel Cabaret Paradise Club. So very intriguing project. Again, you're the lead designer, and also contributing were Liana Muresan and Paul Marantz. So I just wanted to read a couple things that you submitted for this project. Paradise Club has many uses, and it can be rented out for product launches and meetings and luncheons. Although its primary function is as a nightclub. It's on an entire floor in a new high-rise hotel in Times Square, so a pretty exciting venue. Total flexibility was required. So both fixed architectural and flexible theatrical lighting were merged into a single digital control universe. Fisher Marantz Stone designed various environments for the space, including, dining and pre-show shows. All qualities of light are available to the performer. The lighting system here is a toolkit, which the many lighting designers who use it must master. So it sounds like a very challenging project for sure. And a question, since total flexibility was required and the systems were merged into a single digital control universe, that sounds difficult, right? You said that our profession is still in transition from the analog world to the digital realm. Right? Any best practice you can share with others as trying to make this transition?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I should say that from our office, Paul Marantz was the lead designer of the project, more so than myself. I was deeply involved, but this really came from the imagination of Paul Marantz, and we had a nice ongoing struggle with finding the best way to control an unwieldy, wild ceiling lighting system, which obviously required high-tech digital lighting controls, but also to be able to dim everything down to zero seamlessly as is required in a performance environment. So the transition from the analog to the digital is fairly easy to achieve in certain environments, but when one is trying to harness all the lighting and really dim it down smoothly and slowly, that's when you start noticing the shortcomings of current technology. And so we did end up having a combination of LED artifacts along with some old-fashioned tungsten halogen incandescent sources that dimmed beautifully and had embedded dim to warm technology.
Anything about the team interactions when you think about trying to bring this design to its successful implementation? I mean, it just seems there's a lot of moving parts here, and who's going to use it, and how is it going to be easiest to implement?
I think the most important interaction between the teams was the interaction between the creator of the space, who is Ian Schrager, who decades ago created Studio 54 and collaborated with Paul Marantz on that over 40 years ago. They went on to create the Palladium discotheque together in the 80s. And then Ian basically created the concept of the boutique hotel with his series of Royalton, Paramount, Chelsea hotels. And now he was back into creating this nightclub cabaret environment and brought his old collaborator Paul Marantz back. So they have a shorthand with one another of what wants to be achieved, and they are both very hands-on, which is why I said that Paul was really the lead designer from our side of things. One would expect that a project this complicated would also have a deep collaboration with a theatrical consultant. And at the beginning of the project, that was the case, but then the theatrical consultant left after design development was completed. And it was really left to the contractors to fill in that gap. So there was a lot of communication between us and the contractors to get the system to work well together.
And one last thing, what has been the response to the lighting design in Paradise Club? Any feedback that you can share?
Well, yeah. So our only direct exposure to the club was on opening night, when Diana Ross was the opening night act, and Paul and his wife went invited into the space and couldn't make it past the bar because it was so crowded. So they bailed, and we've seen reviews. I mean, it's popular, it's crowded, and you need a reservation to get in there. And it's been described as magnificent, and it's been described as pure drama, which I think is very apt.
Well, again, congratulations on some beautiful lighting design. So on behalf of the National Lighting Bureau, thank you for entering these projects, and congratulations on receiving these awards.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're very happy to receive the awards.
Any comments from our judges that were online?
Yeah, Enrique, I had a question. The control system obviously is sophisticated and complicated, but for events where you're doing, you're just serving dinner, or an evening where maybe someone using the space just wants one or two presets, is there a simple control capability beyond the complex?
Yes, there is, and there's a main control system that really allows control of all the lighting in the space, and that was provided by ETC. It is a Mosaic console, and then of course we were able to program preset scenes for dining, for pre-show, for dance floor, for even, like for a conference. You can rent out the space for a conference. We have all those presets that are easily recalled from a keypad. And then in addition, there's obviously interface with theatrical consoles that any act that comes in can plug in their console. There's also an in-house theatrical console that was used to program the opening night show. So it's really full integration with architectural and performance lighting.
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, I was interested in that too, and I just pulled up the pictures again because I remembered seeing something that I hadn't seen before in spaces like this, and that was the ability to go to a kind of a neutral sort of setting, which I assume the incandescent or the halogens that you mentioned helped. So everything looks kind of very natural and lifelike and bright. The downlights and the accent lights on the table give a very wonderful ambient atmosphere, and the murals blend into that, which is very nice. And then in the next slide, it's absolutely saturated colors and pinks and blues. And that to me says you can turn this room into just about anything you want. So I was just delighted to see those pictures because it shows how flexible that system is and how you can change the atmosphere in it. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that before.
Absolutely. The big gesture in the room is that custom designed Starburst Chandelier that takes up most of the ceiling. And it's composed of these bands that come out of the center of the room, and I think there's more than 2,000 of those little light pixels that you see in the ceiling, and each one of them is an RGBW enabled pixel. And the W is 27K, so it's inherently warm, and it combines very well with the halogen lighting, which is meant to pin spot the tables and to be the curtain warmers and other specific functions. Everything else is LED, and that's the challenge, to get it all to work correctly in a performance theatrical space.
It certainly shows how you can marry the older technology with the new technology and come up with something that is very, very different and interesting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Okay, with that, Randy, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Well, I want to thank everyone for participating. And I'll just close with this. Enrique, you guys have done a tremendous job on both of your projects, but I did hear you say that they do rent it out for conferences. So I am thinking about our 2021 board meeting when it's in New York. I think we have a great place that we'll need to check out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if any of you know how to hang from a trapeze, the trapeze can hang from the middle of the ceiling, and we can do some acrobatics for sure.
We'll leave that to Jim Yorgi. He's good at that. Okay, and there's Ruby.
We want to get access to the controls too.
Yeah. How about a round of applause for Enrique?
Absolutely.
Great job. Nice job.
Okay, guys, this concludes our meeting, and thank you all very much.